First full-length interview of Season 2. Don't mind if I do.
This is Anyone Can Play Guitar, the podcast for musicians and music lovers that takes you behind the scenes of the music industry. This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however, professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
Hello and welcome to episode 60, the first full-length interview with me, Ben, and him, James. So last week was something a little bit different as we closed the first half of the season and an end to the season specials.
Yes, you recovered from your flu, Ben?
I don't think I really have, to be honest, but I'm nearly
We're
there.
in a confined space here.
Yeah, it's very warm in here as well. Nice breeding ground for James. But what today is the first full-length interview.
Yes.
And we've gone with Justin Lockie of Editors. A
Good
lot of
choice.
good feedback from people going that they like the Justin snippets in the specials. But James, before we get into the interview, again from last season 1, we're going to be a bit different. We're not going to waffle on too much, but some quick Justin and Editors facts for you.
Alright, go on, hit me.
Editors are from Northampton, I believe, but Justin is from Yorkshire and has close ties to our neck of the woods.
Yes, he does, yeah.
Through university, I believe, and his first band, which is Your Code Name is Milo. Can you remember a wedding we went to with another member of Your Code Name is Milo?
I can.
Yes.
God, that's going back some.
15 years.
Jeez.
Yeah.
In Sunderland.
Yes, at the Glass Centre. That's right.
Nice venue.
Very nice venue. But now he's not Your Code Name is Milo. He is the guitarist for the band Editors. And I don't want to call it a side project, but it's not his day job, basically, with his other band, Minor Victories. I also want to call them Minor Threat, which is another band from Washington, D.C.
Right, well, don't call them that.
I haven't. I've called them Minor Victories.
Right, good.
But here's another little fact, James. And he co-founded the Handheld Cine Club, which is an indie film and music video production company.
He's got a lot of strings to his bow,
Yeah.
does this man.
And from the interview, I think his video production is one of his favourite things about his career. I met Justin in autumn of 2018 at the Northumbria University on the tour of their last album, Violence. So before we get started, a couple of quick things to mention. If you want to find Justin online, you can find him on Twitter at Justin_Lockie, Instagram at Justin Lockie. You can find his bands on Twitter at EditorsOfficial and at Minor_Victories, and Instagram you can get Editors-Official. I couldn't find a Minor Victories Instagram account. Before we get into the interview itself, I want to say thank you to Justin for taking the time to speak to me at the Reds in Northumbria University, Rob at the Editors Management Company, and Mackham, which I'm guessing is a nickname, who were the Editors tour manager, who were all helped with getting this interview.
As a thank you very much to the people that helped make it all possible.
Yes, exactly, yes.
So, here we go with Justin. Remember, a great way to support the show is to go on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and a review. It really does make a massive difference for the show. Now, on with the episode.
Justin Lockie from Editors.
Yeah.
Welcome to Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast.
Cheers.
How are you
Cheers for having
today?
me. I am pretty good.
Yeah, Northumbria University.
Yeah.
This is used to work here. You
This
said.
is it's quite bizarre. I used to work in the Ents department here, like 18 years ago, and I've not been back. This is the first time I've been back in the building since I left.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened in 18 years.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It's good to be back.
Cool.
Put some really great shows on in the room that I'm playing tonight. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
So is that all pre your codename as Milo?
It was as that was happening. That band effectively started down that corridor there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And on that stage at Reds, probably?
I don't know if we played that. No, we didn't. We never played it. We didn't play much in Newcastle. For a Newcastle band, we never played much in Newcastle at all. We made it a thing to not play to our mates. Straight off the bat, because playing to your mates is never really a good indicator of how good a band you are, because they're going to tell you you're all right anyway, or they're going to tell you you're shit just because they're your mates.
Of course.
So yeah, we went to, I think, London. We just got out of town really, really early doors on that band.
And you think that helped?
I think it helped a lot, because we didn't see ourselves as a local band. I mean, singers they were all from Sunderland, Washington Way. I was from Yorkshire, and didn't feel like a part of anything that was out in town at that time. At that time, we had like Kubicek and bands like that, and they're all lovely guys and stuff, and like early incarnations of field music. Maximo were just starting.
Heads were probably around about that time as well.
Yeah, Future Heads were a step ahead of everyone, because they'd already got records out and stuff. But we didn't fit in sound wise with any of them, so we kind of just went off and did what we wanted to do. And
took a leap of faith.
I think that's and I think that's all you can do when you do music. Is the whole point about it is you make music for as many people as you can get to hear.
Yeah.
And if you keep it in a close scene, then you're just playing the same people, just in a different bar every other week. So, I think we did 10, 12 gigs before we signed our first deal.
That's pretty cool. That's good.
Yeah, it was really good. But we were very, really focused anyway, because I worked in studios, and so we recorded all the time. We were constantly recording. That band was more a studio project than it ever was a live project.
Okay.
That's my fault. So we just recorded, got stuff out. We had the ability to turn things around really cheaply. Yeah, and then that was that. And
that's how everything started.
Yeah.
Cool. So when did Milo come to its end, like date-wise?
Kind of. It's a weird one. I stopped touring it on the last record, because it must have been about 2006.
Okay.
Mainly because I've never really been. I know it sounds stupid because I'm in a heavily touring band now. Touring doesn't sit well with me in terms of like mental health and anxiety.
Okay.
I tour in a very different way now to how we used to do, but it got to a point where I had my first child was just about to be born, and I didn't want to be away for it, and I didn't want to miss it.
Yeah.
So I stopped touring, but I was still making the records and stuff like that. And we had a little studio down in Byker, down near the Cluny.
Okay.
And under a bridge arch, and
is that Polydor? No.
No. Just kind of. It was literally under the Byker Bridge. One of the archways was our studio. It used to be like rehearsal space, and we kind of fitted it out into a make do studio, which worked really well for those kind of records.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the guys carried on touring. I think they toured out with Biffy and Enter Shikari and stuff like that. And then
sits with their sound, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he kind of, I guess, my heart wasn't in touring anymore. I just didn't. It never sat well with me, and I just went into production, and then I helped a guy set up a label, which is now doing really well. It's called Raised Tapes.
Yeah.
It's just all Nils Fram and Oliver Arnold's and all that neoclassical stuff, and then I put a record out on there, and then just started making records I wanted to make, just because I was feeling like I wanted to make a record, as opposed to being stuck in the cycle of recording and then touring for a year and a half, and then recording, and then touring for a year. It's not a great cycle to be in if it's not your thing. So
yeah, all right, that's a
but I mean it was good.
Yeah, so still getting your music out there and still creating. So if we skip ahead, we'll probably skip back and skip forward.
Yeah.
So 2013.
Yeah.
Editors come a knocking.
Yeah, that was strange. I mean,
yes.
I think.
So were you touring like a touring artist with them, as in like a?
I wouldn't say a backup guitarist, but like touring guitarist.
Kind of. It was a really strange one because I'd done quite a few records on my own or little projects and stuff, and I've been doing a lot of production. And then 2012, I started a lot of directing and my little film company.
Yeah.
So I was actually out doing a documentary with Frightened Rabbit in the Highlands. Just before their Pedestrian Reverse record. So we were doing a couple of weeks literally in the Upper Highlands and Hebrides with those guys, and I got a call from editor's manager who said, "We're looking for a new guitarist. Would you be interested?" Initially they'd booked their biggest show they'd ever done, which was headlining Werchter in Belgium, which is like 60,000 people, and they couldn't really back out of the show, but they never had a guitarist. They didn't have a guitarist anymore, and
so is this the end of in this light on this evening?
Yeah, I think it was in like it's past in this light, but they were attempting to make what would become Weight of Your Love.
But
it was a very different beast back then, and I think they'd had a couple of aborted runs at making that record and decided that it's not working anymore, so they parted way with their guitarist. And then I got a call saying, "Will you do this show? There's that show and a festival in France and a couple of Birmingham shows." And I was like, "Yeah, cool, that sounds good." Because I thought, I'll do it. It's not that much touring. It'd be good. It's totally different. But at that time, I didn't even own a guitar.
Really?
No, it was really bizarre. I was like, I had guitars in I'd lent to mates or stuff, or they were just in studios around Britain. But I didn't actually play guitar for like a year or so, and I didn't even have a guitar. And they were asking me to be the lead guitarist in a really big band.
Doing 60,000 people.
And I just said, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then went down to rehearsals, met them all. And I think it came off the back of their manager had seen everything that I've made through the years from Milo onwards. So he was very aware of how I play and my style and what I bring to it. And
sound of it.
Also the production side of things and also the film side of things. He's like, I wasn't just a guitarist that was going to come in and just play a couple of shows.
Play 6 chords.
Yeah. And
that'll be
so,
me.
so it was like, and then I managed to pick up a guitar, and I remember learning the tunes whilst I was out shooting a documentary in a hotel at night, just going, all right. I said to the guy, send me the set list that you're thinking of. And it's just enormous. It was like, it was 3 records worth of songs to learn. So I started learning it, and it's really good. Really, really good. It was really strange, but we'd had like mutual friends, or we knew mutual producers and stuff, and they did their 3rd record with Flood. Milo did their 2nd record with Flood. Yeah. And I think that recommendation is what got me in the band. That's why they came knocking in the first place. And after those shows, everyone gelled, and we just flew straight into what became Editor's 4th record, and I've been part of the band ever since.
Cool. So I guess I wrote this question down because I actually didn't know. So was there like no audition process?
No, I just turned up.
Literally
just turned up on turned up in Birmingham, and Russell and Ed were there. Tom had tonsillitis, so he wasn't there on the first day. And we just started running through the set as if I'd been there forever.
Been there since 2002.
Yeah, just rocked up. Managed to get a guitar, which was handy.
Did you have to go and buy one from the
guitars? I literally went to I can't remember which one it was. The one that used to be down on the quayside.
Sound Control.
Yeah, before it was Sound Control, it was something else.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I went there and just picked up like a Jazzmaster or something, and then just went down with that.
Here I am.
Turned up, a few pedals in the bag, cracked on, played the tunes. I think we even started jamming around what would become Sugar on their 4th record, and started writing pretty much. And that was that. So that was like day one. That was day one.
Yeah.
And then it just. I think we were in rehearsals for like 2 months, and then we just went out and smashed this massive headline show
in Belgium.
Yeah,
nice.
And then
So the whole connection thing as well must have been great, knowing that each other through different bands, and they approached you. That must be odd.
It's a bizarre phone call, because it's probably the last phone call I was ever expecting to get.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't, even though somewhere along the way we'd cross paths, I didn't know him, and they could have had any guitarist in the world. Mm-hmm. They've called me. Yeah. Who wasn't even known that well for being a guitarist, so it was quite weird.
I suppose if you look at the Milo sounding, if you've got these, your own projects are quite a big, expansive sound. The albums, Wait If You Love, In Dreaming, The Violence in You, and they are, in my opinion, might be right.
Oh yeah,
they're big.
It's more chordal. There's bigger sounds. I mean,
so
a lot of what Chris played. A lot of what Chris played on the first 3 Edits records is it's very sharp, very riff based. Mm-hmm. It's all based around 2 strings, really high up, really spiky, and that's his vibe. That's his sound. And I play a few of his parts every night on stage, and they're really exciting songs to play. Mm-hmm. They're really gratifying tunes to play on a guitar. As a guitarist, you want to play those bits, but I don't really see or write in that way. I write in a more layered and textured way.
Yeah.
I could pull off a riff when I need to,
mm-hmm.
but I don't naturally go to that high, I'm a lead guitarist, listen to me, really spiky kind of thing. It's just not my... It hurts my ears. Okay. It's just not my thing. But so yeah, it was quite. That's why the sound kind of radically changed in record 4. Records 5 and 6, I recorded those, so they changed even further. Mm-hmm. So they, I went back into my mode as, a producer engineer.
Yeah,
which is my favourite place to be.
Cool.
This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started. Whether they're small local charities or big global operations, we're always happy to promote good causes on the show. This week, it's the latter, as Justin Lockley describes how Editors are closely aligned to Oxfam.
Editors, as a band, are very closely aligned with Oxfam.
Uh-huh.
This year alone, I think Tom, Ed, and Elle went to visit a refugee camp in Greece, and then one later in Serbia while we were there touring. Doing a show, and I think Oxfam, although it's one of those big charities, and they get a lot, I just think they're working. They're consistently working to change things, and we're closely aligned to them. We raise quite a lot of money for them and awareness for them, and we're, it's essentially it's who we back. It's our charity.
Brilliant, great charity.
You can find out more at oxfam.org about how they're working to tackle poverty around the world. Also, coming up in the UK in October is the Oxjam Festival, which is a series of gigs across the UK. Go to oxfam.org.uk/Oxjam, that's OXJAM, to find out more. Not a UK-based thing either. There's Oxjam festivals throughout the globe, so have a look for one in your own area. Now, on with the episode.
So there was no feeling of like you're the new kid on the block. There's no like
no, not at all.
In school.
No, because I'd done as much as they'd had in different ways.
Yeah.
So it was like we weren't in unequal places. Yeah, they'd smashed some loads of bigger shows and they'd been to Europe a lot more. But I made loads of records.
Yeah.
And done loads of things, and that was, it all kind of balanced out. It's like, oh well, you might have kind of done this or done that, but I've been and done this, that as well. So.
And
we're pretty much on an even keel on that front. And in some ways, it was kind of an advantage for me that I've done lots of different things, whereas they've just been in Editors. They've been, in that one thing. And there's different ways you look at that. But I always even now I'm in Editors, I still make other records and do other projects. So that's what I like to do. I like to collaborate. It's not that I don't like just doing one thing. I just can't stop working, so I have to work in multiple mediums in order to satisfy my urge to work and create.
I suppose it'll help other parts as well. It'll all feed into each other.
I think the only way you learn to progress, especially sonically and overall as well, is by collaborating with people you don't usually work with, because it opens up new ways, new methods, new sounds, new approaches, and the kind of new philosophies. It's like working with Stuart at Mogwai in Minor Victories. It's completely different. It's completely different to how I've done anything else. It's like there's a guy who makes storm cloud sized guitar parts. So then when you're crafting tunes, you kind of have to leave this massive gaping hole for Stuart to put 20,000 tracks of like really loud guitars.
Yeah.
Whereas in editors, you don't. It's a very like small cutout for where the guitars go in editors, and it's usually very direct. And the rest of it's layered up with synths. So and that's the only way you learn. I think that's the only way you learn how to get better at playing, how to get better at understanding music, how to get better at understanding different ways of putting music together, and especially in arranging and different ways of recording music is by working with lots of different people.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
So, 2013, Weight of Your Love, and then we're moving into In Dream and Violence, which you said you had more of your production engineering hat on, to use a business term, apologies. So how long did it take before your role became as...
what it is now?
Yeah. So like, I know you said on day one it felt like you were always in the band, but I bet there was still an adjustment period.
I mean, it's weird. It's weird because you got to live with other people's songs. You know, I wasn't like a massive Editors fan before I joined Editors, and I think that helped because I came at it from a very different angle to maybe someone who came in who knew all their songs inside out. They would have just made the same band again because they would have tried playing like Chris. I actively didn't want to play like Chris because it's not my style of playing. So, and I was very upfront about that. I was like, I want to play all the strings on a guitar, and layer things up. So I think in the production way I started, I think I demoed a lot of the stuff for Weight of Your Love. And then we went over to Nashville to do that with Jakia King, which was great. And then, from In Dream, we went up to Scotland and like decamped into this place, like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. On
the west coast, like 30 minutes down a single track road in a car to get to the nearest village. Totally isolated in this great spot overlooking the coast, overlooking the Isle of Jura. And basically how we worked it was I'd be in the middle of the room with all the recording gear and my big table. We had all the PA stuff in there. We basically made a studio out of this, essentially what was like quite a posh wedding hall in the middle of nowhere. And then Tom would have his station with a piano, a couple of synths and his guitars. Russell would have his bass and a couple of keyboards. Yeah. Elliot had like a Rick Wakeman-esque like amount of analog synths, and Ed had a load of drum machines and his kit that we barely used. It was mostly all electronic, and then we just worked through the tunes. We get up in the morning, there's nothing else to do, barely any internet, and we had a chef there, so we didn't really leave the place apart from once a week. I drove everyone down to the pub on a night, and we had a couple of pints and went back and worked. And we were working solid days from like 10 in the morning to like 10, 12 at night, and we just refined all Tom's like Genesis's songs, and we just went through, and it all came through a process of recording. It all came through of like laying down foundations and then working, taking away or adding, or and we had we had time to be able to take a step back and look at it and change things. So there was literally no one else, no engineer, just me in the middle of the room with a few mics, some nice bit of recording gear, and a laptop.
Go on, this is what I bring to the party.
Yeah. Just say, let's go, let's have it, let's do it.
Well, I think when they must have found yourself when we're looking for a guitarist, they must have thought that was coming, which is obviously what they needed, because out of all 6 albums, I'm a massive fan of the second, but if I had joined the band, I probably would have just tried and wrote Munich Part 2 and Fingers in the Factory Part 2.
Yeah, and the good thing about this band, and I found out pretty much straight away, is they don't like repeating what they do, which is great in a band, because there's nothing, if you're out touring for like 2 years on a record globally, you get a bit tired of stuff. So if you had like 6 albums of essentially the same style of tune, you'd be bored after week 1. So it's good that in the catalogue that it is now 6 albums, it's very, very, you can go to some very, very different spaces musically on it. You've got the early period, the backroom period, really spiky post-punk stuff, and then it comes a little bit more big rock band on record 2. And then 3 just takes total U-turn into dark electronic, analog electronic stuff.
A lot of atmosphere on that record.
Yeah, a lot of atmosphere. And then back into classic guitar on record 4, which is almost like an American sounding record, American rock record. And then 5 is like a really bleak, minimal party, in some ways kind of trip hop, kind of really dark, melancholic, electronic kind of record. Really sparse, really fuzzy, really dreamy. And then 6 is back to a lot more really accurate electronic and a lot more guitars back in. So
yeah, that's cool. So, just conscious of time. So
that's right.
Just a couple of quick things. So, you've already mentioned touring. Do you find touring different now that you're in that part of your career where you're not, I guess, chasing
we're not in the back of a van?
Yeah.
I mean, we tour really comfortably. So I think it's because we're at a level where we can tour really comfortably. We're luckily enough to be a band that still grows in lots of different parts of the world. It's like playing in England, playing in the UK is, we're academy level mostly. We usually end on Brixton Academy, or there'll be an Apollo in Manchester or an Apollo in London. But it's usually top end of academy world.
Yeah.
Which allows for a certain level of comfort in the UK. In Europe, parts of Europe, we're an arena band. So it works for us to be able to tour comfortably. I, on the other hand, don't tour comfortably because I find it really hard to tour. I can't sleep on a bus, so I travel by myself.
Really? Okay.
I travel a lot of it by myself. Because I'm a writer and a director, I spend a lot of time travelling to shows on my own, working on the other things that I do in my head, which is a great time. I get lots of time to drive in some great parts of the planet, see some amazing sights on my own, peace and quiet to think. And there's a thing about being on tour when you're in a bus and you're constantly going from country to country, town to town, is that there's like a submarine kind of mentality to it. Even though it could be the most luxurious bus, there's still a submarine mentality to it that you can't escape. You're not in charge of your own destiny. You are trapped on a bus and you're in a bunk or bedroom. While although it's really nice, if that's not good for you, healthy, it's not for me. It's really bad for me. That you have to find another way to do it. So I travel by myself, drive if I can. I like really big long drives so I can think, listen to music, or fly. Yeah. So that's what I do for every show. I just meet the guys here.
Yeah. And
then after the show, I go back to my hotel, get a good night's sleep, which I wouldn't do on a bus, and then drive to the next show. Which is, in a place like England, it's really easy.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're never more than really a few hours away from your next show. In Europe, it gets a little bit harder, but then the upside of it is you're driving through the Alps on your own.
Of course, yeah.
And nobody's telling you where to go, what to do, thingy. So, when we go into Europe, the end thing, I can spend a day driving through the Alps on my own, peace and quiet, and I can sit at the top of the Alps in deafening silence, looking at some of the best sights you're likely to ever see on my own, and it's inspiring. It's more inspiring than being sat in a bus, trying to keep out of other people's way when everyone's been on top of each other for too long. So I like that. That's my personal choice and preference. The rest of them, they sleep comfortably and they love that element of what they do touring wise. For me, it's just not for me. So yeah, You know.
So yeah, that's a nice way of looking at touring. Actually, I never.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. If you're on a bus, on a regular tour, you're on a bus. You go to a building like this that we're in now and see a black room.
Yeah.
And then you get on a bus and it's night time and you drive overnight and then you wake up and you come into another building like this, essentially the same building in a different town, and you just see a series of black rooms and night times. You don't really see anything. Your days off, sometimes you're just too tired to do anything anyway because you're playing 2 hours a night, you're just knackered. You've got to catch up with your sleep. Whereas I see everything because I travel in the daytime. I spend most of my day travelling, so I get to see the countries that we go to. And then days off, I'm either a day ahead of the band, or say like last summer in festival season, we had a show in like Switzerland, and then the next show was like 4 days later in south of Italy. I spent 4 days travelling through the Alps and down Italy on my own. You don't see that in a bus.
No.
At night, you know. No. I mean, yeah, they'll get there in 14 hours overnight and they'll be asleep for most of it, but I want to stop off on the day. I want to stop off 2 hours down the road every day and see these parts of the world that we're just flying through.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So do you enjoy festival season as well?
Festival season is great. I mean, festival season is a lot more... In some ways, it breaks up the monotony of club tour. Because club tour is like town.
Yeah.
In festivals, we have very like heavy festival bands, so we do 30 and 40 festivals a year.
Really?
So we're out at festivals Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in a different country each day, mostly every weekend of summer, starting in May, ending in September. So we do a lot of travelling festival season. And some of those days you can be like, wake up in Croatia and then you're in Denmark for the show that evening, and then the morning after that you're travelling to Italy, and then the morning after that you're travelling to Moscow. So we just essentially crisscross Europe and the world day in, day out. But you're home for 3 days in the middle of the week sometimes, because it's mostly a weekend thing, festivals. But a lot of them now extend. So now, I just spend a lot of time in airports in the summertime.
That's a lot on your Twitter or your Instagram.
Which is just airport photos. Airport photos. That's my life in summers, which I like because I like flying. I mean, I don't like the impact it has on the environment, and I feel pretty guilty on that front. But there literally isn't another way of me getting from Moscow to Spain in 1 day, other than flying.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Minor victories. How was that? Is that still in the background?
I'm just about to do the second record.
Yeah.
I've just taken on a new studio. I'm just getting decorated at the moment. So when editors' tours finish, I mean the UK one finishes in a couple of weeks, and then we go to Mexico, and then we come back, and then we do Europe. And I think we finished middle of December. Middle of December is when I move in fully to my new studio, which is when the next Minor Victories record starts.
Cool. So 2 last things, quick fire questions, which we always like to ask. Song you wish you wrote?
Don't Let Me Down by the Beatles.
Nice. Artist that made you want to be an artist?
Pixies.
Nice. First album you ever fell in love with?
Oh, fuck. I had older brothers who were at art college, so I had a great introduction to... My musical instruction was essentially mid-90s American alternative rock. So I have to say, first album was the first album I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Truly fell in love with.
Yeah.
I don't think I truly fell in love with anything until In Utero by Nirvana came on. I mean, I was obviously into music and stuff, but I don't think anything really changed my... Or I don't think anything has been fully ingrained into my soul that record has, and still is.
Yeah.
Which was probably up there, top 2 favourite records of all time. It always will be.
Cool. First gig?
First gig, 1993, December, Leeds Town and Country, last day of the Wedding Present tour.
Right.
Their hometown show. Obsessed with that band whilst I was growing up. My older brothers put me onto them. And it was the first show I went to see.
Brilliant. And best part of all this that you do?
Best part of all this, the human angle of it. Okay. You just fall into things with people you didn't expect. Just people.
Yeah,
definitely.
Brilliant.
So that was our first full-length interview for season 2 of the show.
And 2020.
And 2020. Woo-hoo. So I think it's still important to bring the full interviews. We've used snippets from those. So if people have heard things like the episode on touring or songwriting, they'll have heard bits from Justin already, but getting the full interview,
because there's bits and bobs there that are not just...
There'll be new bits, but also I think hearing the whole thing, also it's a good listen.
Yeah. And thank you again to Justin, Rob and Mackham for all of their help with the interview. But next week, James,
who have we got?
I knew you were going to say that. So we've got our second full-length interview, and it's with Tyler Salkowski of State Champs. So we'll look forward to that, and we'll see you next week.
So we're just going to go to the mall and find some wellies. But when we saw our ETA was like within 30 minutes of the mall closing, we asked the promoter, we're like, can you please go buy us some wellies? So we like showed up to these puke green wellies. But I was very fortunate to have a pair of those. I downloaded it. It was absolutely fucked.
All of the show notes for today's episode can be found at acpgmusic.com, along with our back catalogue of episodes. If you like what you hear, or perhaps have some improvements or specific guests you'd like us to consider, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at info@acpgmusic.com or hit us up on social media. Keep supporting upcoming artists, and we'll catch you next time.